Like my colleagues in the series of short films, I've been thinking about how the crisis of the pandemic will affect art and culture and what that says to policy and to our future. Today I'd like to outline what I'm calling the triple threat to UK theatre that has become exposed because of the COVID pandemic, and I'm going to end with an urgent call for the future. The first threat of the triple threat is the immediate financial crisis caused by lockdown. Theatres recognised the importance of social distancing early on in the pandemic, many announcing their temporary closure before the government announced the lockdown. Since then, it's been visible how much culture has meant to us as individuals. My colleague David Wright talked about this a little bit last week. For many of us, in isolation, culture has given us connection. In lockdown, it's given us escape. As well as music, books and films, many of us have experienced online theatre, perhaps for the first time. Theatre hasn't gone away, and for some of us it's become even more important. This has been great for us as audiences and also good for theatres. It's one way for them to reach existing audiences, perhaps new ones, a way to stay relevant, sometimes a way to raise funds, and it's a social good at a time of cultural need. Many theatres have also continued to work, as Battersea Arts Centre's Tariq Iskander has pointed out, working with artists, working with communities, even operating food banks. After all, theatres are not just sites for art and culture, or for storytelling, or for shared sociability. They're also a civic asset, contributing to our society. Engaging with culture online and with our communities has maybe even strengthened that social contract. But it hasn't helped with the financial crisis theatres are facing due to enforced shutdown, which itself has added to an existing crisis for theatre. Just as funding cuts have left our public services vulnerable, those same cuts have left our subsidised cultural organisations vulnerable. Due to policies of so-called austerity, Arts Council England's grant has been cut by well over a third, and these cuts have been passed on to cultural organisations, including theatres. There's no longer a cushion or a reserve to support cultural organisations in times of crisis. So the COVID lockdown has happened at a time when theatres are already weakened, which explains why we've seen theatres like the Southampton Nuffield Theatre going into administration so quickly. It explains why last week it was announced that 60 people at Birmingham Hippodrome are facing redundancy, as are staff at Theatre by the Lake in Keswick. Even the relatively well-resourced National Theatre has warned it may need to shed 30% of its staff. Worst of all, we think this is just the beginning. Julian Baird of UK Theatre and Society of London Theatres, the West End, has warned that 70% of theatres will run out of money by the end of this year. This immediate crisis needs to be addressed quickly by the Treasury. Second of the triple threat for theatre is the medium-term crisis caused by ongoing social distancing, one of balancing the books after reopening. Of course, social distancing will cause problems for many organisations, but theatres are likely to be affected more deeply and for longer than many businesses, because with COVID, theatres face the difficulty of accommodating audiences, of accommodating cast and crew, of giving confidence to their audiences. It's estimated that around 70% of seats will not be able to be sold in social distancing. How can theatres break even on a 30% fill? And the answer is, of course, they can't. And then there is confidence. This talk started with a photo of a full auditorium. I wonder how many people like me found that image really shocking. I've so quickly become acclimatised to the social distancing message, so acutely aware of keeping apart from people, even those I love, that images of people sitting together make me inwardly flinch. So even when theatres are open, even if I can be assured social distancing rules can be applied, a system is in place to keep us apart, even in busy foyers, even when I'm giving my ticket in, will I trust sitting down with strangers over a prolonged period in order to enjoy myself? Can I enjoy myself? And of course, we have a choice. Unlike going to work or school or even to the shops, going to the theatre is not something we have to do. Indeed, for some of us, theatre is an expensive luxury at a time when some of us will ourselves have seen pay cuts and redundancies. On top of that, you can't just turn the tap back on and see theatres spring into life. Tours have been cancelled. Rehearsals and the production process takes time. This explains why our theatres are in this medium-term crisis and will remain in crisis long after lockdown is over. The crisis is so pressing that producer Sonia Friedman has said that British theatres are facing the real possibility of complete obliteration. The third of the triple threats to our theatres, and indeed to wider culture, is the long-term crisis the theatre has faced since at least the 1960s, and that it is never solved and that threatens to get worse, I think, due to current events. That is the crisis of legitimacy. This is a phrase applied to culture by Robert Holden, who suggested that policy has failed to understand culture, and this has led to a lack of democratic consensus about what we fund, indeed about what we value. Theatre has always been socially distanced in terms of who makes it, who sees it, and who it represents. Study after study, and we might think here of the Warwick Commission or the Panic Report, but many others, have shown that even now we fund theatre that speaks predominantly to white middle class people, and that is made by and tells the stories of and from the perspective of white middle class people. This hasn't changed yet because of COVID, although it's interesting to see the diversity or perhaps lack of it represented in online theatre. But my concern is that the first two of these triple threats to theatre means that progress on this might not only be delayed and the lack of diversity become more entrenched, but we might actually go backwards. Because the people who are being laid off are not those at the top of the tree, which is predominantly white and middle class and non-disabled. The audience members who feel most comfortable to return, according to culture counts, are regular theatre goers. Again, predominantly white, middle class and non-disabled. The COVID crisis has exposed many things that we already knew about class, about race, about disability, and about the way society structurally disadvantages many of us. We can't let the legacy of COVID, which has seen many disadvantaged people on the front line, to further exclude them. And yet, who can blame theatres and policymakers to try in a time of crisis to just cling on to what we're in danger of losing, to preserve what we have, rather than to try and rebuild? And I'd like a little pause on that rebuilding. More widely, many people have discussed the current break in economic and industrial activity as if it was a sort of fire break, a chance for the earth to heal and all of us to take stock, an opportunity for us not to go back to where we were, but to create a new normal. This is attractive, not least because it makes sense of the weeks and months of lockdown. It's not a wasted time, but rather it's productive. I think we need to make this work not just for our environment or our economy or our politics, but for our culture, for our theatres. So rather than preserving theatre as is or building it again as it was, we need to take advantage of the opportunity this crisis gives us. Government needs to make the funds available to keep theatre going in the short and medium term. The sector has produced really workable and interesting and exciting plans for this. But while government invests and the sector plans, we also need to enter into a new socio-cultural contract, one that calls on policymakers, theatres and theatre makers to create a theatre ecology that better reflects the makeup of all of our society. We need to build a cultural ecology that not just welcomes, but maybe is even run by black people and working class people and disabled people. In planning, we need to make a big space at our table for our activists and organisations. People like Ink Arts, sent up to champion the voice of black and minority ethnic people. And Common, aiming to make arts and culture widely accessible to the working class. And Grey Eye, calling for the government to safeguard the future of disability arts in the UK. And all of the activists that have signed letters from those people. Reimagining won't be easy when theatres are in crisis, so what we need now most of all is strong leadership from government, from policymakers, from our theatres, our theatre makers, from our activists. Only if we do this will we have a theatre that is fit for the future, one that stops lurching from crisis to crisis, and one that is legitimate, because it is for everyone.